on top as we head into Champion Select for the 6th and final game of today.
And in the battle for first, what I expected to happen did right off the bat, and that's the removal of Dude's champion, an MVP in his own CB LoL finals with the champion Thresh. Absolutely, get that away from him.
Next ban coming out is going to be Elise from SuperMassive, targeted towards Napon, who has banned out Graves. None still managed to pick up that champion here today. A very popular ban currently, despite the nerfs that have hit him recently.
Yeah, and again, we still have to look at Ivern as this other champion of choice. Red Canids would be the team that bans it away if they choose, but it does still leave open things like the Lulu just be outright taken away. When you're forced into a Thresh ban because Dude's playing so well, you're forced into an Elise ban because of how Napon performed in his last game. What's left for you to actually get rid of? And do you look at an Ivern at all? Or do you actually hope that Red Canids don't ban it themselves?
You can see that, you can hear actually the home crowd from Brazil cheering on their team, Red Canids. Crowd favorites, the Brazilian team playing in their home turf. They will definitely want to be picking up a 3-0 here, not only for themselves, but for their fans who are watching at the studio and back at home as well.
Always the sixth man, right? Just having that extra crowd behind you, the backing, you can feel the vibrations in a stadium when the team is so enthusiastically supported by everybody there.
And with that, all the bans will be rounded out for the first ban phase, as we had Malzahar finally banned out by SuperMassive, with Zyra and Ashe being taken away by the Red Canids. That does leave Ivern as well as Varus open.
Yeah, Varus is the other big one. Yes, Ivern stands to attention. Lulu's also a big point of contention, but Ivern usually crops up as #1. Things do change, but Varus is also a very big deal.
And SuperMassive go for the Lulu pick as their first pick of choice. This now gives Red Canids the chance to pick up Ivern and potentially Varus.
Yeah, you have to wonder if they want to actually pick up the Varus when they need to get rid of Caitlyn from this Lulu-Caitlyn combo that we've been constantly seeing. Ivern makes sense, should be locked in, but their second champion of choice. Do they actually go to the Varus?
And they go towards the Caitlyn, like you mentioned, Rusty, allowing SuperMassive to pick up that champion if they choose to do so. So far, both the teams drafting quite well in the first pick phase.
And it's all adapting to the games that they've had today, or the games that they've seen of their opponents today. Again, target bans from the SuperMassive roster. We now look towards their second and third picks, and you'd expect jungle AD carry. This is where we may see a Varus crop up.
Well, let's see what SuperMassive decide to pick up. First up, it's going to be Lee Sin to go up against the Ivern, probably the second most popular jungler at the moment, barring maybe Elise, who is constantly banned out by multiple teams.
Bat and Graves always being removed from the board as well, always banned away. So good to see. Stomage, very good, prolific Graves player historically, also able to hard carry with his team through all of the wildcard qualifiers of old. Still doing it now.
And like you predicted, Rusty, Varus picked up for SuperMassive to round out their first pick phase, leaving their solo laners for last, and we should see the same thing from Red Canids.
And so perhaps a Karma expected. Once again, this is the standard support into the Lulu. If you want to match control of the wave, you've got a Karma, so you should have a strong 2v2. If they do lock this in, there's going to be a lot of contention through the middle lane and the top lane specifically, but because we're in the second part of the ban phase and pick phase, Red Canids have a slight advantage.
And that's exactly what gets locked in for Red Canids here, as Karma's picked up for Dude in the bot lane. Still some chance to be flexed in the mid lane. We have seen it from time to time in the LPL, in the LCK as well. But we'll have to see what the final 4 bans are going to be between these two teams. The Syndra taken off the table right away from Red Canids.
And the beauty of this is that Robo as well gets the opportunity to counterpick with all of his diverse champions that he has locked in already in this tournament. He now gets the possibility of a last pick, which is where the Syndra ban from Red Canids comes in and does make a little bit of sense. It feels like they'll set themselves up with a mid champion that is at least not going to lose in the 1v1.
Whoa, respect ban coming out from SuperMassive here as they ban out Darius towards the Red Canids. No more donkey for you, Robo.
It's just a very awkward ban to look at on your ban list. They remove a top laner, you'd have to expect another top laner to be taken away from SuperMassive, but there's still things like Gragas up and available. You've got the Shen if you want to default to something like that, and they've got to protect the Caitlyn composition, where Shen would just be divine.
Orianna is the final ban from Red Canids, so another mid laner being taken away. Shen still left up and available if they decide to ban that out. But the final ban coming out from SuperMassive will be Cassiopeia towards Tuckers.
Okay, so Red Canids, 3 mid lane champions taken away from them. We mentioned the Karma can flex, you're absolutely correct. Unlikely.
Whoa, Tuckers suddenly the rise to the occasion here, Rusty. Picks up Rise heading into the mid lane.
Yeah, very roam-heavy champion. Of course, Talia's still a champion that can come up and potentially match the strength of a Rise. The laning phase, a little bit more contentious as to who would outright win that one, but there are options always going to be present for Supermassive, even with all of the bans there. Mid lane just has the most diverse champion pool.
Red Canids do get their counter pick for the top side of the map with their final pick later on in the draft stage. Supermassive still yet to show top lane or mid lane as they lock in Galio, which they have played once today already.
And for all intents and purposes, that is the top lane Galio. If they do decide to throw a spanner in the works and flex the pick for themselves, and they can put it mid, but expectations are definitely towards the top lane. So they've got a champion that can wave clear, does a lot of base damage, builds straight tank, and can support and let his team carry. But what you always need with a Galio is something like a Lee Sin, something that can go into the backline so that you can go onto them.
And one of those champions could potentially be Echo, who loves to phase dive into back lines. And that should be Naru's pick of choice to go up against the Rise.
Yeah, so again, that should be the mid lane champion. Supermassive completed their team composition. Red Canids with their last pick remaining, looking towards the top lane. Where does Robo go again?
We'll have to see. So far he's played Darius, he's played Jarvan. That seems like the pick of choice for him. I mean, this could get locked in, and again, we'll see Robo playing another dunker that Jarvan's picked up for the top lane.
Now, there was one really cool thing about Robo when he was actually playing the J4 was the fact that he was so aware of how the champion works in laning phase. When you're W maxing, you don't have a lot of damage, you don't have a lot of lane pressure. In fact, you would have to imagine that from the point where Fabulous gets level 3, maybe even level 5 and beyond with all of his natural wave clear, just from the champion's kit, the Robo has to sit back under his turret. But what we saw the last time he played was that the W shield's massive. If you try and dive him like what Chippies was doing on the Olaf, well then you're gonna have a pretty bad time actually locking him down and killing him. Very strong player.
Excited to see how this lane's gonna pan out though, because Galio, top side of the map, does do very well in the laning phase. Jarvan has to sit back and relax for some time until he picks up the Tiamat. If he's going towards more tanky route, if he's going a little more aggressive and picks up some AD there, might be a different story.
And that's the big thing we have to highlight as well, right? They've got a Lee Sin Galio, and they've even got an Echo who focuses mostly on wave clear in the middle lane, which means they do have a strong top side of the map. There is a chance that that is where Supermassive focuses, puts all their attention towards, perhaps keeping the Ivern down, invading, or even ganking in that area of the map.
And we already talked to Dumbledore earlier. He was incredibly confident going up against the Red Canids bottom lane of BRTT and Dude. And Dude, he said, well, if they're confident to go up against us, we're ready to take them on. So that could potentially be the case in this game. Both bottom lanes are happy to sit bot lane on their own.
Yeah, Dumbledore's legitimately said he doesn't think he'll lose to any bottom lane within this group. Dude said he had a plan. And so now we get to see that plan in action. BRTT on his Caitlyn, supported by Dude on the Karma. That's not his Thresh, but it's close enough.
You see the hometown crowd here from Brazil supporting Red Canids, who take on Supermassive. The two #1 teams of Group A battle it out to see who is going to be first place to wrap up day 1 of Group A.
And as we hop onto the Rift, once again, the early pressure always highlighted around the jungle position has been mentioned time and again, but Ivern just seems to be the best champion at the moment. But Blue side has a 100% win rate, I believe, today, and Ivern's on red side. So most seriously, we're going to have to see how this one does play out.
Let's see if the blue side advantage, so to speak, plays off for Supermassive to try and upset the hometown favorites. These two teams are the favorites of Group A, followed probably by Rampage and Direwolves behind that.
Depends who you ask, of course.
Don't ask us. Different story.
You ask a Brazilian fan, Brazil definitely the #1 team, though. You ask a Turkish fan, and the same thing applies in the converse direction.
And as you've mentioned already, the 6th man of Red Canids will definitely be helping them out today. They want to prove their hometown, or they want to make their hometown proud. The best way to do so is to finish off nice and strong in the first day of MSI play-ins.
One cool thing as well that we are seeing from Supermassive is a red buff start from Stomaged. There is going to be a ward actually spotting him at the Raptors, however, when he does go towards that camp. So it's going to be most likely noted by Napon as to where he wants to go. And this is more so an expectation from Stomaged to go red, probably to the enemy blue buff instead, because he knows that his blue buff is always going to be in jeopardy. So good awareness from Supermassive this early in.
Supermassive do have vision control as well towards the bottom side of the jungle, so they know Ivern has not started on his blue buff. In fact, he just marks the red buff, moves over towards Raptors and smites that away. At the same time, Stormage has taken my red buff and did not walk over the Raptors ward, so has not been spotted out by Red Canids yet.
It's a bit of a 50-50 as to where the Ivern's going to go, but he's the one who always has tempo because he can come over to his next camps. Doesn't have smite. In fact, he's running super low on mana, so curious that he has gone for this clear that he has chosen.
Yep.
because he may have to have an early recall, or he'll have to sit somewhere and you just wait for mana to come back.
Well, his red buff should be up and online. That will give him some health regeneration, not too much, and maybe his smite back up by the time he heads towards Krugs. But bottom side of the map, where we thought the focus was really going to be in this game, BRTT and Dude already laying down some pain over towards Double Doge and Zeitnot, who have been forced off of this minion wave.
And that's the Caitlyn Karma in effect. You know, Double Doge does a lot of damage to champions and can control the wave a little bit with his Lulu, but Caitlyn matches that. And Karma definitely matches that as well. So if they ever protect each other, they 2v2. Outright victory you'd expect goes to the Caitlyn and the Karma, especially with how they're playing.
Making his way in towards the mid lane, Tokers has locked up Naru. Here comes the Lee Sin, trying to dodge around minions, flash over the wall, gets the Sonic Wave and Resonating Strike, but Tokers holding on to his summoner spells, only using Ghost to get out of that sticky situation.
And that's because the Ivern's nearby. Good respect from Samaj to not actually come in, follow that any further, commit too hard for the kill. The flash was also used by that Lee Sin though, unfortunately, so for what it's worth, pans out in an okay spot for Red Canids. Still forces the Rise to go back to base, but the timing is still sound as he gets his tier. That was most likely going to be the recall timing either way.
Meanwhile, during that time, we got a chance to check in with the Keystone Masteries for these two teams. The only one that really stands out here is going to be the Thunderlords for Double Doge, up against the Windspeaker's Blessing picked up by Dude, as well as the Warlord's Bloodlust for the Caitlyn. So we should see another Infinity Edge Caitlyn over the Blade of the Ruin King here today.
You would have to imagine so, but sometimes it changes depending on what they would like. It does still make the most sense against the current team that he's playing against to go for the crit build, chunk them out, burst the Echo, prevent him from using his ultimate offensively, and have to use it defensively.
Bottom lane again, BRTT and you getting so much poke damage on towards Double Doge and Zeitnot. Did see the longsword start for Zeitnot, so does have a couple of extra health potions.
And they're doing this with Ivern on the top side of the map, with no awareness realistically of where Stamaj is going to be on this Lee Sin. So you'd say, hey, perhaps that's a little bit aggressive. Could be a little bit risky, but because they're winning this lane so hard, the health advantage that they had until about now was quite substantial. At this stage though, BRTT might want to get the cannon, or miss the cannon and run the heck away.
Missed most of those minions, as he did miss his 90 caliber net, which would have put quite a bit of damage down towards the Varus. Napalm will get spotted out here as he tries to mark up the Raptor camp, finally heading back to base for the first time. Speaking of heading back to base, multiple champions have been able to do so. Lee Sin has picked up his upgraded jungler item. Tracker Snipe already complete. Dark Seal in the mid lane for Naru with his Doran's Ring. And we do have Tier picked up by Tokers already, nice and early for Rise.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, that forced recall out of the Lee Sin gank, making him get the tier that early. Still going to be matched by Naru, who has the teleport. And that's just the pace of the mid lane. It's always going to be about wave clearing, always going to be about just trying to either prevent their opponent from roaming or roaming themselves and matching it. That's what you want to see from Naru.
But does that mean that later on we'll see SuperMassive pick up or move in towards a 1-3-1 here, because they've got the double teleport picked up, Echo as well as Galio, fairly decent at split pushing, whereas side of Red Canids, they have the Jarvan, who really wants to get into a team fight, it seems.
Always a possibility, but when you look at what SuperMassive also want to do if they want to actually try it engage, that's a lot of damage.
Stepping on back onto that trap that was placed just behind the tower. Always catches players by surprise.
The sneakiest Caitlyn trap that you can place. The red side advantage as well, being able to have that trap there, means that if you are pushing in, you are on red side, usually it's just too difficult to step up and farm the minions.
So Napon trying to make his way down into the bottom lane. Zeitnot and Double Doge just below half health. Lee Sin was making his way down, but it was just to take out the scrying plants. Eventually though, Ivan will leave this lane. BRTT continues to poke up against Zeitnot and Double Doge, but Tokers has been jumped on. Here comes Stomach, forcing the flash out of Rise, and again, Tokers lives through another gank from SuperMassive.
Able to absorb all of this pressure out of the Lee Sin. They've watched him through wards, clear the Grom, go top lane, back through the ward, go to the bottom side of the map, but they've got control wards set up here, SuperMassive. The pressure's still there from Naru in this mid lane against the tier of the Rise. Has Storm Raiders, doesn't have Courage of the Colossus. He is susceptible to these ganks, so is Napon. Smash has no Q though.
Napon will be able to take down one control ward, finds a second. Wanted to root up Naru, but says, oh, 30 gold, I'll take that instead.
And that's all of the vision cleared. Of course, more wards having to be placed down to try and prevent the jungle from being invaded. Second red buff available for the Lee Sin also. But we're looking more towards the level 6 point for the side of SuperMassive. That's when it really matters for them. They get the Lulu ulti, able to then leave the lane Varus ulti, able to actually provide a form of engage for their team. Same thing applies with the Lee Sin hitting 6. Until that point, they don't really have engage other than Naru hitting his parallel convergence.
And we finally had the bottom lanes go back to base. A BF Sword for the Caitlyn, whereas Bilgewater Cutlass picked up by Zeitnot. Even top side of the map have gone back to base. So Fabulous has picked up 2 Doran's rings, whereas the side of Robo, he's got his Tiamat, which is where Jarvan wants to sit comfortably for the rest of the laning phase. Both top laners still holding on to their teleports.
So at about this point, Robo then becomes a actual pushing champion, not a completely irrelevant top lane champion. Means that Fabulous has to show a little bit more respect. And there is potential then to not just be stuck under the turret, to have the ability to leave the lane, constantly roam around.
Yep.
But a Galio, just by design, has so much wave clear that it's really difficult to challenge him for anything.
And if you leave the lane first and Galio follows shortly after, his ultimate will come in handy. He's able to get the jump on towards the opposite team. Now though, Stomach might find Napon inside of his own brush. Just sitting there, puts a ward down, tags him with Sonic Wave, doesn't follow up. As you mentioned, fairly awkward.
But Ryze was in base, so Napon can't actually contest for it, which is why Daisy comes out. He's going to be a scout for the team. Just waiting for the blue to spawn. Or not spawn, sorry, be ready.
Still standing on top of a ward. Does look like Stormage wants to get close. There we go. Napon picks that one up. We'll be able to donate that one over towards Sockers as well. He'll be very happy to pick up a blue buff as Ryze. Pick it up.
But still, there's so much vision on that side of the map for SuperMassive. Lots of trading. That's a red buff, remember, on this Jarvan.
Yeah, Robo, more than happy to go toe-to-toe against Fabulous, does not use his W there.
There is someone coming up the river, though, to where he just walked towards.
Gonna have to be careful. Fabulous looking for the fight already. Taunt connects as he slides his way out, charges up the uppercut, but Naru's here, smacks him with the baseball bat and picks up first blood in the top lane for SuperMassive.
And all it took was the flash, which was definitely still traded. Naru has the teleport, choosing to walk back to this mid lane, though. Doesn't want to be at risk of getting locked down by an Ivern. And this should still be well and truly defensible. So great moves from SuperMassive, getting to the top lane, finding a kill, utilizing the fact that Robo had a red buff. He was going to play aggressively, use his health bar and try and match it. The sustain, the health regeneration that comes from red is why that happens at all. They capitalize. Big
play from Fabulous as well. He was able to get the taunt halfway through the slide combo from Robo.
And that's a cool thing about the matchup as well. If you're charging up a taunt, Jarvan doesn't magically disappear from your area. He throws down a flag before he drags himself to it. You've got a window where you can counter it with the taunt.
So in this match between Napon and Stormage in the jungle, something that was talked about quite heavily in the analysis, it's still fairly even. I mean, 3,000 gold for the son of Ivern, about 300 gold behind for the SuperMassive jungler, but it's very different from the Lee Sin against Ivern match we saw in the last game between Rampage and the Direwolves.
But again, the one thing that isn't even is the fact that Naru is playing extremely well, has got a gold lead, has got teleport, and that first kill for his team being the first blood. So as the map opens up, as everybody's looking at Zeitnot, all eyes are on keeping him down. They're doing that with the draft. But who's going to stop the Echo?
And it's something that we see used a lot against Syndra's. Echo using the ultimate to avoid Syndra's ultimate, avoids lots of damage. Similar concept against Ryze, really. Once the burst combo comes through, use it, regenerate all your health, and go fight back with your Time Winder.
And you know, there is a real chance that as we progress further into this game, Naru's going to have a super challenging time killing anybody on Summoner's Rift, just because it's an Ivern to shield people up. Jarvan has his own shield, Ryze has his own shield, and then the Caitlyn's just going to be absolutely protected without fail. And so who does Echo actually assassinate? If he was behind, the answer is nobody. But the fact that he's ahead, he can.
Especially with Karma in the lineup for Red Canids, that's going to help shield up the entire team. But look at this, Naru already wants to fight Tokkas. Tokkas stands his ground. There's the ultimate being used, back to full health, nice and easy. Does have blue buff available, so that will reduce the cooldown slightly, about a minute and a half before that's back up again.
Yeah, using it to trade, not using it to all in. Wants to stay as high health as he possibly can. But against the Catalyst as well, out of the Ryze, he should be okay as they're setting up for this.
Naru throws out a good W there, but Dumbledore is just the one that gets locked down. Daisy not able to get a knock up against the Lulu. As Red Canids happy to sit on top of a pink ward, and Fabulous was trying to move down into the bottom lane as well, getting his ultimate to make sure he can protect anyone from SuperMassive who decided to dive in.
Absolutely, utilizing that pushing lane is this is what you expect to see constantly in the top lane. There's always going to be pressure for Fabulous. He's always going to be able to push in the Jarvan, even with the Tiamat.
Stormage forcing Dude to flash away as the speed up came out from Dumbledore, helping out the Godfist Lee Sin.
Lots of damage from that Lee Sin. Hasn't quite got his jungle item yet. When he does, people will melt.
Very big power spike for Zyke as he has picked up his Blade of the Ruin King just against the BF sword of Caitlyn.
Yeah, good window of opportunity. Caitlyn's item build usually goes towards the Hurricane.
He hasn't been spotted out here, so Lee Sin is right behind Caitlyn. BRTT caught in the Piltover Peacemaker animation allows Stormage to pick up a kill.
Just completely stuck with his pants down, BRTT. No response there because he's stuck throwing out the Q. So SuperMassive, 3 members strong, pushing this bottom lane, even tanking the turret here and there to try and keep the minions alive for just a little bit longer. They won't get it with this wave, but the next one is sure to follow and sure to be the structure going.
Dumbledore was confident heading into this bottom lane. There was not too much action that took place, but still the first kill for the bottom lane goes over towards SuperMassive, and now Tokka's taking a beating from this Echo in the mid lane.
Yeah, and just the fact that Dude isn't there means the bottom turret falls Naru, already 1-0. The ability to roam top gives him that lead. We get to see this kick again, though. As he was queuing, there is legitimately nothing that he can do to respond to that fantastic kick.
Turned into a little critter as well by Dumbledore, making it even harder for him to escape from that. BRTT not going to be too happy with that gank. SuperMassive, like you mentioned, took down bottom lane outer turret. They got good damage on the mid lane outer as well, and are looking fairly confident heading into this match against Red Canids. 2,000 gold in the lead just 14 minutes into this game.
And that's the thing, we highlight where do these junglers want to go? Are they just going to invade each other? They're just going to pressure each other. Well, one's an Ivern, so he's just going to be a farm jungler, try and play the map a little bit more, support his team, scale up, get some shields, get some items, and support Caitlyn. Stormage plays the early game jungler, plays the level 6 impact jungler, and actually finds that opportunity, keeps BRTT down, and now sets the bottom lane of SuperMassive up to get the turret. Now rotate towards the mid lane, set up a 1-3-1 that they can put themselves in with 2 teleports there. This is exactly where they want to be.
And there's still no item power spikes for Red Canids. Robo's still sitting on components. No redemption for Napon. Tokka's hasn't even completed his Rite of Ages.
And that's the thing, it's about timing. Not just that they got the gank in the bottom lane. Like, the fact that you have a Blade of the Ruin King, we mentioned this much earlier, that's when the gank happens, right? So that's a window of opportunity where Zeitnot's going to be doing more than BRTT. But he's also going towards the crit Caitlyn build. So now that he's behind, he stays behind for a little bit longer just because of how accelerated the bottom lane goes. I mean, it's not a massive gold lead that SuperMassive have accrued for themselves, but you can start to see the spillover effect that it has.
Well, you look at the other side of the map, SuperMassive, like we mentioned already, Blade of the Ruin King picked up Warrior's Enchantment for Stormage, which is a big upgrade for Lee Sins. Even the Sunfire Cave tossed to them out, allowing Galio to continue pushing on his own as Naru. Some quick feet there, he's able to get away from that gank using the flash to the wall. Meanwhile, BRTT low, forced to use heal and flash to get away. Dude even getting his exhaust down there.
Yeah, Zeitnot throwing out the ultimate, able to lock them down. Keeps summoner spells of his own, so even after that Caitlyn ultimate, confidence in his team. Pressure on the mid lane turret.
SuperMassive keep pushing on. Napon stops Naru from diving into the back lines with a snare. Galio was waiting to pop his ultimate if Naru decided to dive on in. Has the Proto Belt available if he wants to get even deeper behind the back lines, but still a 2,500 gold lead for SuperMassive. Again, commanding this game against Red Canids.
And we've already highlighted this earlier in the day, but Red Canids, the Brazilian side, have been lacking just a little bit in their mid-game strengths. Most teams have been able to give it back to them, even just a small amount in their performance, especially against Rampage, when they were able to get that advantage back from a 5-0 Elise running around on Napon. But now they're doing it from a deficit. And so we have to watch how they actually play this one out. Can the slow, calm, methodical, SuperMassive side actually continue this Rampage? Or will Red Canids be able to hold on and show they do still have what it takes from a mid-game deficit, not lead?
You can see the hometown crowd still cheering on Red Canids here. The Brazilian team have high hopes heading into this group stage. Group A was looked to be the strong group thanks to the fact that Turkey as well as Brazil were in this group. We finally get to see them playing here today, and as expected, 2-0 up for both these teams, only really tested by Rampage, who finished the group stage 0-4.
And they give a blue buff over to Stormage. There was slight amount of pressure from Jude, but they don't give it to the Echo. That is one of the more curious decisions. I mean, he was there. He was right there. Varus walked over.
Doesn't need it.
Evidently. Has a sheen, has mana. Might have the enemy blue?
For now, though, SuperMassive are setting up on the top side of the map. Stormage clearing out a couple of control wards. Xynon and Double Doge are going to continue pushing. These Ivan brushes are deceptive because Napon is waiting in the wings. They do ping it out though, so they feel like something is going on, something fishy you could say.
And Justice is also running through the jungle just behind Naru. Again, smudged. Naru, if they dive the tower, they've got a Galio to go immediately on top of them, something that always has to be remembered. But in this case, Red Canids say no to the fight.
Yep, they back off with Caitlyn in the bottom lane and Galio trying to cheat up through the top side of the jungle. Red Canids give away another outer turret as SuperMassive increase their gold lead to about 3,500 gold ahead of the Brazilian favorites.
Yeah, it's just too much to respect, honestly, running around as a group. They're trying to trade, they're trying to get the mid lane turret. Eat your heart out, Vedius. They are trying to do as you suggested, but it's just not happening.
SuperMassive continuing their push top side of the map. Robo is stuck alone to deal with this one. That's fabulous. He wants a piece of BRTT. He's going to give him some justice himself. BRTT's just running away, but he chucks a couple of punches into his face and takes him down one-on-one.
Your cupcakes do nothing, BRTT. They're actually just placed as an afterthought as Galio casually lists over them. Secures the kill. That is a big Galio now running around.
And with teleporting in the bottom lane for himself, Fabulous going to continue split pushing for SuperMassive, making sure that the rest of the team can be grouped up as 4 and trying to capitalize on a 4-on-3 fight.
And they can't afford to have Caitlyn die. They can't afford to have Caitlyn split pushing. All of these things now get exacerbated further. Fabulous has brought the minions up with him. SuperMassive now collapse themselves, and so much pressure on all these structures.
Naru into the back lights, Jude down to less than 200 hit points. And SuperMassive use that dive to take down the bottom lane inner turret.
As it stands, 19 minutes into this game, Red Canids are trying their best to trade and get these structures, but there's no kills, there's nothing to be seen, absolutely just the number 0 as it all starts from hitting the knockup, plain and simple, as trap 1, trap 2, throws a third one out for good measure. Unfortunately, none of them are actually able to save his life. He was doomed to die.
Yeah, Fabulous doesn't want any of your cupcakes, BRTT. But SuperMassive.
0 kills, 0 turrets. Not a lot of hope right now for the Brazilian side. They will still get there first.
Robo will at least stop a perfect game here, potentially pull back some of the gold lead for Red Canids. Naru is sent towards top side of the map, just going to clear up this minion wave for SuperMassive. Tokus is waiting in the wings. They're trying to take out a control ward. There is a Galio coming in if Naru needs him. There it comes. Superman's going to come back down, but Red Canids get the heck out of dodge and avoid the knockup.
And the control ward lives. That's what really matters here for the Turkish side. It's a statement that Galio can and will do this, but it's also a sign of what's to come if team fights do start happening, as the crowd is trying to be that 6th man and really get them into this.
Although it's a 4,000 gold lead for SuperMassive, it's not over yet for Red Canids. Yes, incredibly far behind. But again, once this man in your screen, BRTT, is able to pick up an Infinity Edge for himself, that could definitely change the way this game is played.
Yeah, they've got the redemption for the Ivern. It's really hard to dive Red Canids' team composition just as a whole if they are ever grouped up. Even if they just have Ryze and they don't have Jarvan there, it's just a 4-man group. But your Caitlyn traps preventing the siege. Ivern to shield people up, Daisy in general just to disrupt if a team fight does break out. It means that SuperMassive can't dive the structures unless they have a numbers advantage outright, or an advantage to the point where their items are just substantially further ahead, and that's not going to be the case anytime soon. They need to find other objectives, and for me it's Drake and it's Baron. If they can bring Red Canids to the Baron, then they can fight them in that area for it, because Red Canids won't be able to set up. They won't be able to put the Caitlyn traps down. They'll have to check.
And now, SuperMassive very happy with going into a 1-3-1. They've got Naru in the bottom lane. Fabulous is top side of the map on Galio. He has his teleport available. So does Naru. Stormage, Zeitnot, and Double Doge are sitting around the mid lane and cheating in towards Fog of War when they can. And Naru's on a turret with the Lich Bane.
Jarvan has to come down. He's going to have to respond. But at this time, look at where SuperMassive are. Actually, he might just be in trouble.
He's trying to get right behind Naru. There's the Parallel Convergence, looking to try and keep him alive. Does get a big shield, tries to take down Robo, flashes over the wall, and gets the heck out of there.
Meanwhile, they're definitely looking at the Baron. It's at half health.
Well, here comes the teleport. Robo's trying to get in. Even if he does, it's still a 4-on-4. with them trying to get into the back lines. Will he get the smite? It's taken away by Snowmarch. Robo wanted to try and steal that one, but SuperMassive get the major objective.
Teleport in.
They've got Echo coming into the back lines. Blast Code gets them back to safety, but Robo does get taken down. Jude is trying to get the heck out of Dodge as well, as SuperMassive increase their gold lead.
And that was a subtle thing, but the taunt out of Fabulous to prevent Ivern from getting it at all, just sitting on the edges of the Baron pit, preventing that steal. Massive victory for SuperMassive. Not only do they just get themselves the Baron, Naru lives, is able to teleport in, and now they pressure extra structures. This is a complete and utter disaster for the Brazilian side.
Mid lane, inner turret taken down by SuperMassive. Stormmarch is prepping a wave on the top side of the map for the final inner turret to fall here. Now SuperMassive rotate the rest of their members towards the top side of the map. Almost looking like it's going to be the most convincing game of today here, Rusty.
Yeah, in a battle of the 2 zeros, this does feel like the most clean, holistic, almost macro type of victory. They are playing it properly. 1-3-1, go for the objective, which was the Baron. We already mentioned why the Baron's super important. What's also just important to take out the structures in the end is, this is the big thing we need to highlight. Not only does he block the ult, watch the taunt out of Fabulous. As they are stuck, there's no way for him to get over the wall, as Stormmarch does get over the wall. I believe he wanted to kick them as he came back in. The Q was already on the Baron. So he secures that one for his team. Compliments of Fabulous, as Zeitnot definitely doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, Stormmarch and Fabulous played out fantastically. Lee Sin jumping over the wall, ending the taunt with a kick, getting back in to smite that one away. Made sure there was no scenario where Napon could steal that one with a flush smite. Robo tried his best. Unfortunately, the slide combo from Jarvan's not enough to take down a Baron. SuperMassive increased their lead by taking another elemental dragon for themselves. Ocean Dragon has been picked up here.
Yeah, there's going to be another one just afterwards as the pressure continues. Naru going to be hitting the top lane. He's going to be 1-3-1-ing one more time. They've already got the Galio bottom side. That's where they're going to start this one off. Is actually, Red Canids are in.
Red Canids want to go for a fight, but here comes Galio with a big 3-man knocker. BRTT is locked down as well. Robo, who started the fight, has already got the heck out of there as Red Canids lose their AD carry.
And their desperate engage backfires, SuperMassive sieging the base.
They're going to be able to take down the mid lane inhibitor turret. Inhibitor is next. SuperMassive definitely going to look for more because they've got a wave prep top side of the map.
Absolutely. They've also got one bottom, so pick and choose wherever you'd like to go. Zite not just going to walk through the turret. Minions are here ready to go, timed perfectly. This is very clean.
It was a Hail Mary play from Robo and it didn't work out for the Red Canids. SuperMassive get 2 inhibitor turrets and 2 inhibitors take it down already, and they still have half a Baron buff to work with.
And that's what you want to see from Galio as well, out of Fabulous one more time, showing his skill on the champion, but it's because Red Canids are engaging. They're desperate, so they have to go forwards. Their team composition definitely does not want to go forwards. They've got an Ivern. They want to pick and choose their battles and slowly whittle down your health just that little bit more every single time. But because they force it, everybody's going to get knocked up by the hero's entrance. As you get back over to those Krugs, Lulu.
Stormmarch knocking Double Doge away there, despite all the help he's given him this game. We can check it with the gold. Big lead for Zeitnot. At the moment, 11,000 gold to 8,000 gold on BRTT. And Fabulous is just a massive tank at the moment. Baron buff will finally expire on SuperMassive when everyone except for Stormmarch.
And frankly, just as it stands, BRTT may have 2 items completed, but those 2 items do not even compare to that of his opponent. The damage is just too real. Nothing's going to stop the Galio from killing Caitlyn at this stage. That's just where we're at.
As you mentioned, Caitlyn's just going to stay behind for so long, and they're going in again. SuperMassive, they're not afraid of no one. Stormmarch deep into the back lines, kicks Robo back of all people. Doesn't matter because SuperMassive goes deep in. Big taunt onto 3 people with Naru diving into the back line as well. BRTT is going to get taken down. Robo's trying to run for the heals. Fabulous is a giant gargoyle who is wreaking havoc into the back lines. And SuperMassive are going to try and push for the win here.
Definitely looks like they're going to push for it. There's 3 members alive, but I don't think they have enough to prevent this.
Here they go. Icon's not quite in sync, but they're happy because the Turkish lineup have been able to pick up a win here against Red Canids to go 3-0 in Group A, day 1 of MSI play-ins.
And after a victory like that, it's safe to say that the Turkish side are your favorites in Group A. They are the #1 team, and they just proved it convincingly against the opponents that you might have expected to be a bit closer.
I mean, especially when that was a near-perfect game. all dragons taken away, all barons. The only thing that stopped that from being a perfect game was the fact that Robo got a turret in the top lane.
Yeah, that was, I'm going to say, a clutch turret to save themselves from a perfect game on an international stage. That's something that rocks you. To be 2-0 up, yes, you're still in a good position. They can reset because this is their last game for today, and they'll be happy about that. If that was game number 1, if that's how today started off for the Red Canids, it could have been a different story.
And other than that, so far, for SuperMassive, the only thing that has really tested them has been the team that's gone 0-4 on the first day of groups, which was Rampage, and they're just looking so dominant. Excited to see how they're going to play in day 3.
Yeah, that was honestly just such a clean, crisp performance out of SuperMassive. They did not look like losing from minute 1. And the beauty of this, once again, is that Naru steps up to the plate. He's the big carry for this team one more time.
Yep, he's done it all day and did it again in the final day of the match. But to wrap up the day, let's give this one back to the analyst desk to break it all down.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. SuperMassive is going to be our 3-0 team at the end of day 1 here in Group A. And this was actually, surprisingly, our most dominant game of the day. Actually, the fastest game by 11 seconds there, just sneaking it in under the wire. But, you know, funnily enough, we had talked about the featured matchup between the two junglers and, you know, what style junglers would they end up on? Well, we got that Lee Sin versus the Ivern, the early game versus the utility. What are your guys' thoughts on how the jungle matchup played out?
You can go on that one.
All right, well, so I want to start off by saying that early on, it seemed like it was a very slow game. Both teams just playing very much to lane, a lot of investment onto early vision. But the key play that really opened up the map was the Stomage moving down to the bottom half of the map, getting that kill onto BRTT, and giving SuperMassive the freedom to start taking down these turrets. Because once that first tower went down, it was all across the map for the rest of SuperMassive.
There were a lot of thoughts I have on this game. One, I love the bans coming out of SuperMassive here, that they just target pick comp super hard. We know that's what Red plays best, the Canids play the best, and they just basically ban all that out, pick something else. We talked about maybe going for the Lulu first wasn't necessary because you can get a Karma later, but it works out fine. And then, like you said, the Lee Sin making the big play. There was an opportunity where that Karma Caitlyn lane gets a huge chunk on bot lane. We saw that the Ivern goes down and camps, you know, tribe rush. Instead of moving into lane and trying to abuse the health advantage as hard as you can with a 3-man siege and daring Lee Sin to stop you, he just sat in the brush and hope he face check, which is like, that's not what an Ivern does.
Right.
Like, they like, were trying to play this like weird pick style.
That's what the Lee Sin does.
Yeah, they were trying to play that weird pick style with the wrong champions because all their pick champions got banned out.
Yep. All right, so we have these two different kind of clashes in style, at least with the junglers. And SuperMassive, you know, did get a couple kills, at least in the early game, but there was quite, you know, a lack of action to some degree in the early game in terms of kills actually going over. It wasn't until that 21-minute mark, and we're going to take a look at this, our final Acer replay of the day. SuperMassive's 21-minute Baron call. Set this one up for me, Vidius.
So the thing that I love about this is it's a great demonstration of how to play the 1-3-1, right? SuperMassive are sending Naru down to the bottom half of the map, and they're drawing pressure away from the main unit, who are decisively moving towards the Baron and knowing, hey, we have a numbers advantage and we have a good enough composition to deny Red Canids from being able to contest this Baron. I just not only love the execution, but just love the overall play from SuperMassive, demonstrating that they did exactly what I want to see macro. They had clean macro gameplay.
Clean Lee Sin gameplay as well. Hops over the wall, kicks him out, comes back in, and just smites the Baron away. That's exactly what you want to see. And you see, that's the goal graph you do like.
That's the exact kind of goal graph I want to see, Mark, all the time. And here's the thing, with that Baron buff, I think this is where we're kind of landing at the end of this game, is that SuperMassive does feel like they have the best understanding of the macro game kind of at all levels, because they made a great play to secure the Baron, and then with the Baron, executed properly to get double inhib and then push on the next wave right after backing to end the game. So closing it in a very, very clean fashion once they were able to secure that lead.
And I think that what we saw from Red Canids is that very early on in the day, Direwolves gave them opportunities to maximize the use of this Ivern, right? So they freely got to a point where they could optimize this Ivern composition. They didn't need the engage because Direwolves were acting as the engage for them, right? Whereas this time around, there was no big team fight. They weren't allowed to scale into the mid game. BRTT ended that game with a 0-4-0 record. Like, these guys they could not optimize this composition. They didn't have the same sort of setup that they had had earlier in the day.
Right, the Syndra's gone, the Thresh is gone, the Elise is gone, all champions that they had huge success on their previous 2 games, not available this time around. I just thought it was a very good understanding of SuperMassive of not only how to counter their opponents, but how to play their own comp, as well as just play some good League of Legends.
Yeah, I mean, I love this point about the aggression as well, because so much of League of Legends can look different based on where the gold falls in the early game, right? You look at the first game of the day, you go, holy crap, Caitlyn, Ivern, Lulu, that's an insane composition. No one should ever be allowed to have that. Well, yeah, of course it's insane if you're hand-feeding the Caitlyn kills in the early game and helping her scale into late. We see here that there is downside to picking a composition like that if you can't get it rolling or extend the game past that 25, 26-minute mark.
Good understanding of some of the more fringe picks as well. They take the Galio. You see there the Canids trying to counterpick it with a Jarvan, being like, oh, it's a scrappy physical damage champion that should do well into Galio. And then he's just spending most of the game getting pushed in.
Yeah, and so now if we kind of like pull back for a moment here and look at these 2 teams as being the front runners to get out of the group, we talk about the expectation for both squads, right? You're in your home country, Red Canids, Brazil, you want to show up for your crowd and your audience. But on the flip side of things, SuperMassive is just trying to get back to where they were last year at MSI, which is in the group stage. So for them, lofty expectations saying, hey, we're the team that's been here and done this before, so we have the same expectation that we can get back to that.
And the narrative that we started with at the top of this show was very much that this is a team that is stuck together. They've made a change in their AD carry, arguably should have been an improvement. So far, he has demonstrated that. And as a team, they have grown, and they are here to show that growth to the rest of the world.
You talk about their AD carry to get a first-hand account on that win. Let's go ahead and send it over to Shox, who's standing by for an interview with SuperMassive's bot laner.
Hey guys, Shox here again, and I am joined by Zeitnot, the AD carry for SuperMassive, after locking first place in Group A and a massive victory over the Red Canids. How much of a confidence boost is it for the team that you are first place and you beat the crowd favorites, Red Canids?
Well, we had our doubts against Red Canids. I think they are really strong, but unexpectedly, I didn't expect this much. I mean, it wasn't really hard. But yeah, we won't be overconfident or we might lose. I always lose wildcard tournaments, so I'll be extra careful.
Yeah, good to be careful, but you did lock #1 place. Going into the next round, you have to play all these teams again. What is the edge or the advantage that SuperMassive has going into the second round? Because you guys look pretty unstoppable.
We had some bad games, I mean shaky games, but the last one was really good. So they'll be a bit scared, but we won't be overconfident, and we are 1 point ahead, so it's a lead. We'll try our best.
Yeah, definitely not too comfortable. When I talked to Dumbledore earlier, he was already thinking about playing versus TSM or playing versus Flash Wolves. Are you doing that as well, or are you trying to keep the focus, and how do you keep the focus to close it out?
Dumble is that guy, you know, he wants to get ahead and talk big, but I'm not, so I'm the stressful one, actually. I'm always, guys, we're gonna lose, so I change the weather, you know, so they be extra careful. So, yeah, I'm that guy.
All right, well, in any case, you have put up a fantastic performance so far, Zeitnot, so thank you very much for the interview, and good luck going forward. A carefully confident Zeitnot. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much, Shox. I love that. You got to have somebody balance out Dumbledore's confidence in terms of moving ahead in the tournament. But 16-1-11 on the day, you're talking about upgrades for this squad. 16-1-11, I'll take that performance any day of the week.
He's having.
Exactly.
Nope, he's only got 1 death. You want big numbers.
Big numbers.
He's not putting up big numbers.
Mark's all about the big numbers.
Yeah, I don't care where they come from. Just give me some numbers.
All right, I tell you a big number, though. 3-0, okay? Winning all 3 of your games today, as was mentioned there. That 1-game lead, right? You're now master of your own destiny, and I think that's very important going into day 3, rather, second day for Group A, but day 3 on the tournament, is that SuperMassive now knows that they're in control. So if they enter day 3 with solid game plans and knowing that it is theirs to lose, right? I think that they're going to have a really solid shot at clean sweeping this group.
And they have that little bit of buffer in case a game doesn't go well. You don't instantly need to panic and be like, oh my God, we're 2 games back now or something like that. You can potentially lose a game, learn from it, and really improve over the course of the day, whereas a lot of these other teams need to play perfect the entire second day.
I think that's the big focus, right? The fact is, for SuperMassive, the onus is now on their opponents to win rather than like, because right now sitting at 3-0, if you drop a game, it's not the biggest deal. But the fact is, the enemies are just like, oh, we need this win in order to have a chance, because we have to go above SuperMassive, so we have to make sure they lose as many as possible.
And again, I think this plays into SuperMassive so perfectly, because as we talk about Direwolves and the Canids, these are guys who are aggressive. So you're coupling already aggression with the need to win more games, right? And what is that going to turn into?
Desperation.
Desperation.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that as long as SuperMassive, again, kind of holds on to their experience and the knowledge that, hey, we as a team understand how to play this game better than the rest in the group, or at least at this point, that's what we've shown, that as long as we come in cool, confident, collected, we can take away the entire Group A. As we close out day one, let's go ahead and take a look at Group A's standings. SuperMassive are undefeated in first place with the Red Canids close behind them at 2-1. The Direwolves end the day at 1-2, and Rampage look to bounce back from the bottom when they return on Sunday, but they do have their work cut out for them. Tomorrow, we've got Group B, who play their first round robin of the play-in stage. It all starts with LCL's Virtus Pro against LLN's Lion Gaming, followed by Vietnam's Gigabyte Marines versus LAS's Azurus Gaming. Gentlemen, as we look at this lineup here, Group B, give me your preliminary thoughts on some of these teams and the matchups that we got going on for us tomorrow.
I think the big one that everyone's going to be talking about is Lion Gaming. They absolutely destroyed their league. They had something like an average of 5,000 gold at 20 minutes. It's absolutely crazy.
13-1 record or
so
something.
they basically had Envy's gold lead.
If you took Envy's early game, but then had them actually win those games, then yes, that's what we're expecting out of Lion.
I like it. I'll take that any day of the week. We talk about big numbers, Mark. Those are some big numbers for you. So you're looking ahead at that. What about you? Your dark horse outside of the LAN.
So
last dark horse did not work out too well for us.
Redemption. I'm giving you a shot at redemption.
So my dark horse of the group is probably Azurus Gaming.
Okay.
There have been like a lot of talk about their performance. LAS and LAN have also had a lot of rivalry between them, and I like to think that as LAN have improved, LAS have also been trying to match that level of improvement too. So I'm looking forward to seeing what that team can bring out. But then there's also like Virtus Pro. How well will they stand up? Because remember, like these are the guys that beat M19, and everyone was expecting M19 to be the representatives. And so I wonder what they're able to plow, given that they were able to get that upset over M19.
I mean, everything about Group B seems so much more uncertain, and in a sense, because when we were looking at these and saying, well, SuperMassive, Red Canids, the top two teams in the tournament, all get ported over to this Group A, makes Group B a little bit more of an open book, right? Anyone can win this, and so it really is gonna, day one, we've seen what can happen. If you dig yourself a hole like Rampage and go 0-3, you've got your work cut out for you. So tomorrow, every single win, every single game be that much more important. That is going to do it for us. So on behalf of myself, the casters, and the entire live broadcast crew here at Riot Games, thank you for watching, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.